Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Thursday, September 26th. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, I did a quick video yesterday that I'll try to get up today of the different things that we're working on and also give you a look over the John Deere 4000. There's only 200 of them that were made in the U.S. That doesn't mean they exist, it just means that's how many were made. This one is running and driving. And this guy's father bought the tractor brand new in 71, 70. So hopefully you'll enjoy that video. But today this is more towards you guys that are carrying inventory, new old stock. And when is the right time to get rid of that inventory? So stay tuned. This should be good. Hey, welcome back. My name is Eric, and yes, this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Thursday, and yes, it's September 26, 2024. All right, so what are we talking about today? I'm talking about when is it time to let go? Honestly, when is it time to let go? And you're probably saying, let go of what? I'm talking about new old stock. Or maybe you're floor planning and you got a buttload of units still sitting on pallets and a bunch of new stuff sitting out front that still didn't get sold. Now today at 10 o'clock in Syracuse, New York, they're having another auction, small engine repair. But this one's a little different. This one I'm not going to. What they're doing is they're floor planning. So now they're trying to get rid of their excessive units. And I think there's some used zero turns in there as well. And the same auctioneer that I went to last Thursday is doing the auction this Thursday, today. And they're saying they've got over a couple $1 million in inventory they're trying to get rid of. And this is just basically zero turns, snow plows that are new, because they carry that as well. They've got some used units. They've got some used snow plows. No smalls. But when is it time to get rid of that stuff? And I know what ends up happening is, well, I pay more than what it's going for. I hear you. And in business, you need to know when is it the right time to cut loose the dead weight and put that money back into the coffers to stay with the current stuff. And you're going to learn that the new way of doing parts and inventory is you don't carry a lot of inventory. I'm serious. You know, it sucks, but the manufacturers are discontinuing stuff so fast. People aren't getting the stuff repaired, and if they are, they're checking eBay and coming at you with, why are you charging me $100 when you could have got it for $19.95 with free shipping? I would say 50% of my customers are that way right now. And that's one of the things that I had to do, was I took over the years of the inventory that I did make money on, right? So that puts you into the blue. But years ago, you know, what I did was I look at, all right, let's say I bought 10 of these, the same unit, right? For $5 a piece. And I sold them for $10 a piece. I made, $50 on those units. Now, what if I sold 8 of them? So 8 times 5 is $40 profit I made. And now I've got 2 sitting there that I still paid $5 a piece for, right? The years go by, 3, 4 years, and those 2 units are still sitting on the shelf. Why? Because nobody's buying them anymore. They have now become new old stock. They're not current. So you can do one of two things. You can sit there, well, three things. You can sit there and keep them because you're unwilling to take anything less than $5 because that's what you got in them. Even though you profited off the 8 that you bought, it's a group of 10, right? You're 40 in the blue. Take those 2 out, you're 30 in the blue. Even if you give them away, you still made money. Not as much, but you still made money, right? So you can either sit there and draw a line in the sand saying that you're not going to get rid of the old parts because nobody's willing to give you what they're worth or what you paid for them. Or you can decide to throw them up on eBay at above the $5 mark, so it covers shipping, handling, eBay fees, and all that, right? Because that adds up. A typical $10 unit, by the time you get done, costs you around $4 to ship it and pay commission. I'm just telling you. You could go that route, or you could just discount it in your store. Now, if it's something that you think you may need or use, I mean, I understand that. But if it's out there for the last 5 or 6 years and you haven't touched it, then it's time to clean your inventory out. And that's what I ran into with last week's auction. Was I would say over half, 3/4 of the stuff the man had was what I would classify as new old stock, outdated. I mean, it's great if you're working on the older machines, and there were a number of people there that work on just the old machines, the ones that you couldn't kill. But they're doing it out of labor of love. They're not doing it as a business per se. They're doing it as a project with maybe their kids. They may be doing it as a school project, BOCES, what have you. But it's not a business buy. It's a consumer buy. And when you do a consumer buy, you don't make any money on it. You usually go backwards on it. But it's something that you enjoy. You got to add that into the equation. If you enjoy doing it, that's got to be a plus, right? But you guys that are dealers, are you cleaning your inventory out? And if you are, how are you doing it? I mean, I can tell you how I'm doing it and how I did it. Was I went through piece by piece by piece. And we had thousands of pull draws. A lot of smalls, Where it come to Briggs, I had a whole Briggs section, a whole Kohler section, a whole Tecumseh section, And then that's just the small engine. That's not counting the tractor stuff of Yanmar, John Deere, and a lot of the stuff were pull draws, that you could pull out and have parts in them. But I took a pen and a note tablet, and I went through each box, wrote the number down, quantity inside, and then went right down through each one of them. And I would do like the whole Briggs section, and that took me 2 months. That's how many parts were there. And about only half were what I would term as current parts. 3/4 of them were maybe I might use them, but the last quarter was no. So I painstakingly through the winter months is when I do it. I'd be starting it about now. And I will be starting up soon. And I go through and go online to eBay. And I start comparing prices of that part, what I've got into it, what it's selling for, and can I get up underneath it, break even, make a profit on, or am I more wanting to just not give it away, but take a little bit of a loss and still bring revenue in? Because all my parts, yeah, throughout the shop, and that's been that way for years, are all debt free. My parts, I took everything that we sold online for parts and reinvested it back into paying down the debts on the parts and reinvesting it back into the parts. So we had our money tied up in buying new parts. But the great thing was, and this is how I run my business, and hopefully you can do it this way as well. I wanted to, if I got pissed or if something happened, I could lock the door of the shop, pull it tight, and not have to worry about paying anybody. Everything in that shop, all the retail, all the parts, all paid for. All the whole goods that you saw, the big parts in the lawn tractors, push mowers, all paid for. I think debt is the biggest killer when it comes to any business. If you aren't light on your feet and you can change quickly, then you're not going to survive. Old school, you used to have, you buy your parts and you spend $12,000 for parts. And you knew every year what stuff sold because you had a record of how many widgets you sold of this and how many widgets you sold of that. So you started seeing a pattern because parts were staying longevity. They were staying current for a lot longer. And you could afford to go out and buy because you knew that part would still be an item in 5 years. There would still be a demand somewhere. And that's how you did your inventory, right? If you bought 5 and there's 5 still there, you're not going to go reorder 5 more of those, are you? Of course not. But if you order 5 and there's only 1 left, I would reorder 4. Bring it back up to 5 if that's where you want it. But these days, you can't do it that way. These days, you need to stay light on your feet. And debt is the number one killer of any business. A lot of people say, well, debt is you're using somebody else's money. And if you're using somebody else's money and taking chances, you're taking chances that you wouldn't be taking if it was your own money. That's my take on it. You're more apt to, on a whim, do something stupid because it's not your money per se. I can file bankruptcy. But now if that $100,000 was out of your own savings, it's you're investing into the business, are you going to still make the same moves of being radical, stupid, impulsive? No. You're going to be more conservative. You're going to put your money in where you know that it's going to bring money back. Now, I know a lot of the specialty dealerships where you sign on with them, they want you to do like $40,000 in parts to be a specialized dealer. $40,000 in parts. Folks, you aren't going to sell that $40,000 in parts. I'm telling you right now. Not unless they shut down the U.S. venues to overseas countries like China. As long as that competition is there, I don't see it. Unless you are one hell of a big dealer. I don't see it. Your mom and pops, you know, my suggestion would be to go through the parts that you have in stock. Do it now. When the weather starts to where you're going to be closed in, that's the best time to do it. But do it now. Go through your inventory and find out what stuff do you still have in inventory that is no longer relevant, that you're not getting sales on. You may have 10 widgets, but you haven't got them in the books, and they've just been sitting in a box off to the side. Here's the other thing, too, that you still may luck out on making some money on those parts. Certain parts that are new old stock that are OEM will fetch higher prices when there's none to be found, or very few. Supply and demand. If you have these labor love guys trying to work on certain pieces of equipment and they need your part, and they're not willing to substitute it for a Chinese knockoff, they want what was originally on it, and maybe it's a carburetor, and the carburetor they got, they tried cleaning, everything else, it's just not working. That carburetor you're sitting on that you probably give around $80 for, that sells for $100, he might be willing to go to a 120. But you got to feel that market out. And just because you go to eBay or Amazon, you can't find that part number doesn't mean it's not worth something. It means it could be that nobody has any. But what I would encourage all you guys that do have inventory, smalls, is to go through them on a yearly basis. Wintertime is the best time. It usually slows down. Go through your inventory and see what you got. And stay light on your feet. Stay as debt-free as possible. Debt can be good as well. You know, like a mortgage on the building might be cheaper than leasing it by the year with insurances. Buying a truck versus leasing it month to month. Those are all major decisions you're going to have to make, right, to stay in business. And this even goes for the older machines. If you're a landscaper, you'll understand that if you got a machine that's 10 years old and it's getting harder to get parts for, isn't it time to let that machine go and update it to something that is current and that you're using and has got warranties on it, so if something goes wrong? I mean, they used to say that the best people to borrow from is your family. No, that's the worst. I don't know whoever thought that one up, unless it's Amish or Mennonite. You don't borrow from family because that's just a good way to cause hard feelings. And then they'll think that they have a say in your business. Unless you have them part of your business, maybe that's a trade-off. If it's worth having, save your money. Is it going to take you a little longer to get to that certain point? Yes. Save. But in the end, it's going to be worth it. I had to separate the dogs. She's got a rawhide, and this one doesn't, and they're fighting over the rawhide, even though Shelby's got the rawhide in the bedroom. And Shelby's being quiet. She's the one yapping. So I'm going to wind this up. And what's your thoughts on this? Whether carrying a lot of inventory, the mold parts that are still kicking around. And I'm not talking about the good used parts. You know, they didn't cost you a cent. You took it off something, right, and just set it up. I'm talking about the stuff that you paid cash to get for inventory. And that used stuff, there is a market. It's just pre-owned on eBay to peddle that as well. So on that note, you guys have a great Thursday. We'll catch you here bright and early tomorrow morning. Thanks again for watching.